Hey everybody, it's the Crazy TV Talk Vancouver Web Fest panel review of some amazing shows. And I guess I'll do my fancy reveal here and get everybody on the screen. So let's do a quick intro for everybody on the show. Let's start with Big Andrew.
Hey, my name's Andrew, and Andrew McGivern. I'm the co-host of the new reimagined Bunker Project, now the Interesting podcast. And yeah, that's about it. Looking forward to talking about these cool web series.
Awesome. Then I've got my, let's skip over my co-host because he's going to blab on for a little bit. So we just jump right over to Ken.
He's going to jump around for a bit. Yeah, James, like that. Yeah, hi, I'm Ken. I do all kinds of stuff, but none I can talk about here.
Yeah, or you'd have to kill everybody, right?
I would. Sorry. Yeah.
And then we have the illustrious Stephanie.
Thank you very much. It's Stephanie Michelle Scott of Wildfire Effect Media. But recently, I'm actually a value-added reseller for the interactive software Conductor. Very special to web series these days, so super excited about that.
Do they have a website?
Conductor, absolutely. I believe it's .com. And I can't.
I'm sure they got the .com. My God.
Conductor.
Cool. All right, so let's get this baby rolling. We were lucky enough to know the ladies, Paul and Suzette, at the Vancouver Web Fest, and they were nice enough to give us a preview web shows. Now, they've had tons and tons, hundreds of shows given to them. They've picked many of them to be playing, and they chose 12 at semi-random for us. And we've spent the last week and a bit reviewing them. So I'm going to throw the rest of the descriptor over to my salubrious co-host, Jadine.
Hey, Bob. It's so happy to be here. Hi, everybody. You can reach me at JD_Christie on Twitter. That's really the best way to get a hold of me, or you can also find me at Crazy TV Talk, of course. Thanks, Steph. Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Andrew, for coming out. And Bob, as always, we love doing what we do, which is looking at great content. With the Vancouver Web Fest 2015 coming up March 6th to 8th here in Vancouver. If you're not here, you need to get here, and if you are here, you need to go. We'll launch right into this. We're going to go through 12 shows, and we each got to see one episode specific to it, and we're going to go and talk about each show, what we liked about it, how far some of us went in watching some of them, and later on maybe we'll talk a bit about any other details or exciting things that we liked about it. In terms of the outline, we may do a best line, we may talk about some actors and things, but we're kind of going to do a free-for-all kind of talk this time around, and then at the very end we'll do a nice rating. And Bob, you were going to fill us in a bit about the ratings in terms of this time around.
Sure, no problem. You know, that's a very interesting point because we've done this panel many times before for established shows that, you know, we've watched the whole series, and questions like best scene or best actor or a scene that moves the plot forward made a lot of sense for those shows. But for web series, they're very short. I mean, for describer of a web series, it's basically something that's distributed over the internet, but they tend to be on the short side. You're not like talking 30-minute shows or 45-minute shows. You're talking 10, sometimes 20 minutes, but more like 7, 3, 5, 10-minute area for each show. So if we're just watching one show from each series, and sometimes it's not even the first show in the set that I sent everybody, it got a little weird. Like it's like best actor is like there's only one actor in the scene, or there's two actors in the scene. It didn't make a lot of sense. So we basically scrapped that whole idea. I've got some killer lines. I mean, some of them it was just line after line after line that was great. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. There is a ton of stuff to talk about. It is 12 shows. We're going to try and cram this into an hour of content so people don't start passing out on us. So to delay this no further, let's start with our first selection. Now, I wanted to ask, this is the first question I got to say, how the heck do you pronounce the title for this piece? It's Disrian or Disserin or...
I think it is Disrian. It's French, and as far as the origin, from what I understood, and it means to say nothing. But it's part of like a greater phrase that I've seen online. So, you know, anybody else can throw in there, please do.
So we're yeah, well, we're going to totally for all the creators that are going to be like, oh no, it's not, it's Disrian or something like that. So sorry, we're just kind of West Coast.
It sounds French. It's we'll call it French, and we love it.
That's it. So let's get the ball rolling. For like we were saying, it's going to be just general discussion on it. And the first thing I wanted to talk about, and before we get too much into this, please be aware that these are web series. They're sometimes done on shoestring budgets, or sometimes, you know, relatively okay budgets, but nothing close to what the networks are throwing it. They're throwing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions and millions of dollars per episode for some of the stuff you love to watch. These shows, sometimes they have a very, very, very small budget, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000, $20,000. If they're lucky, $75,000, $150,000. So really, our discussion, we're still going to be critiquing these shows as if they were Breaking Bad, because this is crazy TV talk, and we like to talk about the best and the best. So even though
good content is good content, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how short it is, how long it is, the budget. It doesn't matter if it's what genre it's in. If you love it, if you like it, if it drives you to watch another episode, it's absolutely worth it.
Absolutely. And I think for the creators, if they have a chance to listen to some of our content, hopefully it'll make it easy for them to understand what the general listening or watching audience is expecting. You can't just create a show that's so-so and say, well, you know, we didn't have the budget, so that's why. It doesn't work that way. The watching audience expects a little bit of quality. With that said, let's jump back into the first show, and I'm going to throw this to Ken to start with. What did you think of this first episode?
Of what, Bob?
Disrian. You just want me to say that word.
No, I just wanted to say the word. Well, it was like you say, it was pretty short, so you hardly got a very good impression on it. I did feel, to begin with, though, that we had an earlier conversation, Bob and I. It looks like the director went to film school, and he tried out some of his Fellini moves, Fellini cinematography, that's really sort of, and so I wasn't impressed with that part of it. The guy Dante, the actor who plays Dante, I thought he was okay. I mean, he was fairly believable. It was a little disjointed, but I mean, like I say, we only got one episode, so one very short episode. So it may have the arc may have been far more clear if we'd got to see 3 or 4 of them.
Go ahead, Bob.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, and one thing is, Jadine, careful with your mic because we're picking up scraping noises, so it might be hitting your collar when you turn your head. What I noticed when I was watching that particular episode is I just felt it moved along just a little on the slow side. It felt like it was shot and directed like a feature-length film, where it's, hey, we can do a 1 minute or 17-second or 20-second establishing shot of the guy by the boat, or it moved at a very, very slow pace. And for web series, maybe it's just what I like to watch when I'm watching content is I like the stuff to move along a little bit. It might be a different story.
The long shot of the radio and the moving in at the beginning, that it just didn't seem like it was sort of necessary.
It's ironic because that's kind of I love that radio. It reminded me of a David Lynch film.
Yeah, it's a great shot.
It was a great concept. I love the way it zooms in. It disjoints you from the whole show. But I generally like the shots in the boat and whatever. I was kind of like saying, come on, where are we getting to? And I'm just wondering if they were trying to establish some sort of pace or mood by doing that. For me, it didn't work. So I'm going to throw this over to Stephanie and get some feedback from her.
Well, I'm going to shake it up a little bit because the thing that I found really interesting about this one is it's funny how you said it's kind of shot like a
Oh, and we got
I know.
Missed a little bit.
Get everyone back.
There you go. Started up.
I was just saying that it's interesting with this one because if you remember at the very end of this particular episode, which is their pilot for the series, there's a call to action to it. And if you go to the website, you'll also know there's yet another call to action. This is an interactive web series, and they're really starting to tease out something that is going to occur a couple of episodes in. Interesting about what you had to say regarding the shot like a feature aspect of things, because you're right. When it comes to web series, you really need to grab at people's attention every single episode. So I'm giving this one a bit of a chance because I'm very excited about interactive. I'm really excited to find out what they're going to do with it. And that set aside, didn't you guys love the flashlight scene? I mean, I thought when you're trying to tell us,
it's pretty cool. Yeah.
And you want to reveal, it's got a very interesting idea that they put out there where we're revealing pieces of the story, just like I think the whole thing's going to reveal over time. So that gives me hope that I'm going to love this, even though I'm not sure what's going on yet.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Let's throw it over to Andrew. Andrew, what did you have to say? And Andrew's frozen. So we're going to go to Jay Dean. Yeah, he does.
Because that some of the web series that we watched and we're going to talk about, some of them are in season 2, some of them is episode 2 or 3, some of them will watch a few episodes. It just depends on what the series is and how long is it, because some episodes might be 18 minutes and some might only be 2, so we'll watch 4 back to back. So I use the elemental approach when I am critiquing these and looking at these. How is the sound? How is the cinematography? How is the storytelling? Are they grabbing me? Am I going to come back? And are they really capturing the essence of the story that they're trying to tell? Whether it's a mystery or fantasy, does the genre lock you in? And with Disneyland, it's a fantasy. They're out of Souk, Canada. And they really do this wonderful opening where first they honor where they shoot, which is on Vancouver Island and the nations, the Aboriginal nations out there, because a lot of it is this beautiful cinematography. A lot of long shots to set up the story. Yeah, and set it up in the future. It's a story that's told in the future. And we're watching episode 2, but they give us a little teaser of episode 1, which is very short in itself, and they're just introducing a story and a character. Crazy stuff is going on. You're not really sure what's happening, but the audio was really great. The music was very nice. They had some amazing original music stuff that looked great. The effects were good. Like Steph said, the light, the guy just flicks open this light from the middle of his hand. It's kind of like Iron Man. It's really neat. Lots of cool imagery they flash in to tease further episodes, and it looked really good on my big television, and it looked and sounded really good with headphones on my laptop. So it was really worth it in terms of seeing it, and I'm going to be excited to see it, more of it, and watch the story unfold. It really hooked me for sure.
Yeah,
well, okay. I'll give you that for sure. I mean,
I do want to say real quick, what Jadine was saying about little sparks. Especially, I especially liked the woman on the beach with the dark eyes. That just sort of popped out of nowhere, and that made me think, okay, what the heck is that all about? And that alone would make me come back to see what's going on.
And the radio, and what is that significant to the story? It's telling this longer story and this reality. It's setting you in a reality that you're going to be unsure of. It basically says that some things are real, but they aren't, and you don't know what to trust. And as an intro for a story, you're like, okay, so I don't even know what I'm watching yet. it's definitely something that it's going to have to go deeper and deeper into the story. And for me, I'm super satisfied with following it. It'll be an interesting evening one night with the headphones. It sounds amazing in headphones on the laptop. I really enjoyed it.
Andrew, now that you're back, what's your comments?
I thought it was interesting, but I don't know. There was something that it just was too fragmented. The production values I thought could have been. It was a show that I thought I should have liked, but if it was just done a little bit differently, I really could get into it. The radio scene, the old-fashioned radio, I really liked that, but the audio for the voice, I just couldn't. Especially the second scene, I couldn't hear what they were saying, and or what he was saying. I liked the line on the first one, what it said. It was pretty cool, but it's kind of a genre that I would really enjoy. But what was it that said? It said when the wise say that reality is an illusion, they don't mean. What was it again? When the wise say that reality is an illusion, they don't mean it isn't happening, but how you think things are is a fiction. I thought that one was pretty good.
That's what it feels like Monday morning for me. Absolutely. Oh yeah. I would say out of that whole piece, my favorite scene, the one that intrigued me and wanted me to watch actually a couple more to find out what was going on, was the big super tanker with all the oil spilt in it. That's such a political statement about, you know, the position here on the West Coast with, do we want oil tankers coming in? Do we need a big giant pipeline that gives an excuse for these oil tankers to be hanging out here? So it's very interesting where they could go with this. So I think they've set it up in a way that they've got the potential for the writers to be producing a lot of long tail story. So I think it's got a lot of that going for it.
They also sort of set up that kind of respect with honoring the native bands. So you knew sort of going in that there was going to be this sort of this value, the certain values were going to be expressed.
Yeah, I think they really, at the beginning when they talked about that, it wasn't just, you know, we're anti-oil or stuff like that. It's pro-nature and pro-environment and that type of angle. But they're not talking about that in the show. It's being implied through metaphor. It's being implied by scenes. So that's what I thought was very clever about it, that they've made a backdrop, they've made a reality that's got environmental problems caused by greed or whatever, but that's not what they're talking about. That just is the backdrop, and I thought that was very clever.
Well, it might tie into the actual title of the show. I mean, if you define that by English, a translation is "say nothing." So it might be about, very well in terms of its nature, about how a lot of people are so passive and they react after the fact and they accept the reality that's in front of them, that they become passive. So it's interesting because our hero is a pretty passive guy in the scheme of things, and the first thing he's given, besides getting everything from his father's death, his mother gives him the police report of his murder, and we see flashes of stuff about what may have happened. So he's given, as a hero, he's given his mission, and he looks like somebody who doesn't care, who's never participated. So it is a definite start to a hero journey that I'm interested in seeing.
I'm going to have to cut it short here because we are 23 minutes in on the first one. So we're well on our way to a 4-hour show.
That's great.
And we've got some amazing shows coming up. So number 2, Gary Saves the Graveyard.
Are we going to rate that, Bob?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my bad.
Yep.
So I gave it now our rating system is out of 5. There's no such thing as a 5. Like a 4.8 is an incredible show. So for me, I gave it a 3. So I'll throw this one over to Stephanie. What did you give it?
I gave it a 3.7 because of all the things you guys have said. It looks like it's paying just enough detail that I'm going to have a lot of aha moments later.
Cool. Ken?
I give it a 2.8.
Okay,
I
interesting.
just,
Wow,
I mean, it was just a little too
Didn't work for you.
weird for me. Yeah.
gotcha.
All right, Andrew.
I gave it a 2.5 because
2.5.
I wanted to give it more, but I just couldn't do it.
Hey,
It just didn't grab me.
I actually at the beginning I had given it a 3.2, and then I was going through the whole all 12, and I was saying, you know what? I'm gonna have to knock these couple off because I was giving other ones scores about the same level, and this one was just about as good, so it brought it down a little bit. And JD, what did you give it?
Well, I gave it a 3.6. I thought I was definitely intrigued. I checked out the first episode online, and I like where it's going, and I'm interested to follow the story.
Okay, so let's move on to number 2, which is Gary Saves the Graveyard. And all right, so we'll make JD go last for doing that. Let's throw it over to Stephanie. What do you have to say about this amazing show?
Oh my God, this
I
is the
know.
funniest
I know.
show I think out of the entire bunch of what we watched. The characters are just these bumbling fools, and the storyline is such a different angle. I mean, you just know episode to episode you are going to love to watch Gary and all of these crazy zombie-like creatures that he should be taking care of. It's fun. So fun. Love this show.
Very much.
Ken.
I did really like this show. One thing I did think was that Gary, his reactions were appropriate. I mean, he went absolutely nuts in the beginning, and then slowly started to pull back. And when he finally did pull back and found that these guys were not crazy or zombies, or they weren't going to eat him, then he was okay with that. And he realized he was going to be a caretaker, a babysitter as much as a caretaker. But one of the things that just got me was the duct taping the heads back on. I just thought that was just great. And it was just, that little touch of Canadiana.
Yeah, it was good. Yes. Oh, nice. Andrew.
I liked it. I thought it was funny, just like Stephanie. I think it's going to be good. I especially like the scene where he was in the job interview and he was watching TV, so he didn't actually know that he was supposed to be keeping the dead in the graveyard. And that scene was great. That was my favorite scene on the show. Yeah, and I think the acting was good. The characters were great. I like the Abraham character. The Civil War.
The Civil War. Yeah.
Yeah, he was hilarious.
He was awesome when he would break into like his writing a letter home to his wife while he's out at war, and the music would play, and he'd get all prophetic and patriotic.
Yeah, come on.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, he said a man can't always do what's convenient. He must do what
That's right.
Yeah, whatever he said.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Bob, what did you think?
It was for sure. Well, I'm going to give it to you because I know your head's going to explode if you're going to have a chance to jump in here, so go for it.
So this is Gary Saves the Graveyard. This comes from UBC, which is the Upright Citizens Brigade, and they were founded in LA. They're a comedy troupe. They do a bunch of other stuff. This particular one comes out of the New York base, so this is from New York in the US. And it is wonderful. Like the way they broke with everything you ever thought about ghosts or zombies or the dead. They just dispatch all of that. And the premise that he's just a guy getting another job, he thinks it's a security job, and the most important thing for him to do is to pay attention in the interview, and that's the thing he doesn't do because he's watching the puppet show or the lovely finger puppets being made on TV behind him. And it's well done. It's well shot. The sound is great. The jokes are phenomenal. Just the idea of meeting your like childhood friend who died when she was 16, and now you get to be buddies again. It's ridiculous. It's wonderful. It's really new. It's really fresh. And I burned through quite a few episodes after I saw the first episode because it's just too good not to. And literally the entire story takes place between on one evening. It's really wonderful.
I did forget to
yeah,
say
go for it.
real quick. I did have a line there where he's talking to the cop, and he says, "I'm not a janitor. I'm the new caretaker." And she says, "You clean toilets?" He says, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, okay then."
Okay, Ken, if you've got a line, I've got a line too.
Okay, yep, go.
Okay, so my absolute favorite line was definitely this one that went, "Oh yeah, so I had to tie you up because you were being a dick." Right after he had smashed through zombie after zombie trying to save the world.
Yeah, that machete scene was awesome.
My favorite line was the opening scene line where the little girl was there and he plays a little joke to make her stop crying, and the guys come up and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, she was crying and I had to stop her." And he says, "Well, her grandfather just died." And he goes, "Well, my wife just left me." So, you know, same thing.
No
You know,
worries.
it's like
So, you know.
so awesome.
I really liked this show. I thought the best guy in it was Gary, the guy that's responsible for making sure everybody stays in the graveyard. It was, for me, the closest thing to Saturday Night Live that I've seen since John Belushi. The timing and I think for this show, out of all the shows, this is the one that just has a charisma of a bunch of people that have worked together. It's smooth. Their reactions seem natural. The humor is authentic. So for me, a very, very highly rated show. So I'm just going to jump in and score it, and I'm going to say it's just a 4.3 for me. So this kind of gives you an idea of the levels that I'm giving shows. I was pretty stringent because there's 12 shows. It's very hard to dole it out, and I didn't want to go higher than that. But well worth it, and I would highly recommend checking out the show for sure. So, Steffi, what did you give it for a score?
I actually gave it about a 4.0, but I almost want to give it about a 4.2 thinking about it right now. It's just those characters, so much diversity. Awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely for the characters. Oh my God. Cam, what did you give it for a score?
I gave it a 3.7, but after sort of recalling, I could give it an extra point or two, 3.8, 3.9.
Wow.
Nice.
Look at this. The points are just flying around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of show, though. I mean, you watch it once, and then I watched it again, and then I kind of creeped in and watched it, and half of it again, and it just got better every time I watched it.
Yeah, for sure. Andrew.
I gave it a 3.8, but after this discussion, I'm thinking it probably deserves more. But my initial thought was 3.8.
Yeah, and I got to jump in here too, because watching these web series, we've got 12, we're trying to blast through them. It was tough making decisions earlier on because, this is number 2.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, I got 10 more to go. This is really good. Let's throw it over to Jay.
I gave myself permission to throw a few no net kind of ratings. I gave this a 4.5. The editing is so tight on this because they tell a story that compresses over time from earlier in the day, later in the night, that sets up the story that's going to happen up to 5 a.m., that tells a whole story of the way the graveyard works, and there's literally a fax machine from God. It's bananas how much story they tell in such a short piece, and they set it up, and the comedy is strong, and the characters are strong. It's a 4.5. In terms of everything we watched, this to me, especially in comedy, because comedy is so select. You either like it or you don't. And this I love, and to me it's 4.5. This is the measure stick for the whole thing. And to have it be the second one, everything after this I rated off of this. So that's kind of how I did it.
All right, cool. So we're going to move quickly and painfully forward to Mr. Ginger, number 3 on our list of shows. And I'm very curious to see what people have to say about this show. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to jump in there in a sec. But I'm going to start it off with JD because I'm what a show.
So, Mr. Ginger is a documentary style, kind of like a la Parks and Rec. That's very edgy, that's very racy, and it's a teacher teaching these delightful idiots, I guess we would call them, wealthy kids that don't have any direction, and he comes from a really bad background. This is out of Austin in the U.S. They have a Patreon account, so you can look for them there. They come under New Sky. And I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was really dark, the way I like comedy. I thought it had this Spinal Tap kind of feel to it. It was really ridiculous in nature, absurd, and some really great lines, some good visuals. The editing was good, and it had an improv feel to it as well, which it looked like they just did several takes after takes. The whole anthrax scene to me was just ridiculous. It was so fun. I really like it.
Let's throw this one over to Steffi. What do you got to say?
You know, it's funny how you segued that. The anthrax scene, I have to say, if there was a favorite character, the Asian girl who was just taking the anthrax in was certainly my favorite on this. But overall, when it comes to the misplaced morals of Mr. Ginger, I have to say, yeah, fun, super fun. But better than fun, what I'm really enjoying is for those of you who haven't watched it yet, Mr. Ginger is talking directly to the audience through this entire thing. And if you look behind what he is saying, they have all of these crazy things like taser safety and Legos on the counter. So they've done this really interesting kind of telling story through objects, which I love.
The 6th one is like raising a child or something like that. It's like really... like, you shouldn't be teaching these people that. Yeah, I love it. They do in every scene. There's something else going on in the background to everything. It's so wonderful.
Let's throw this over to Andrew. What do you got to say?
I actually really enjoyed this one. I thought it was great as well. My favorite line is when he's talking about his past. He says he comes from a dark past, darker than anything you'd see on HBO. Yeah, I like the anthrax scene as well. That was my favorite scene. No, I think it was well done. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it definitely has a bit of a lilt to it, and I would say like Mr. Rogers on acid would be a very good descriptor of this, or mescaline maybe better.
Yeah. We'll get into that later, Bob.
Yeah, exactly, because later on in the show there is a mescaline reference.
Yeah.
But let's throw this over to Ken and see what he's got to say.
Well, you start watching it and you're really not sort of sure what it is just yet. And the dress and the manner is so matter of fact. It definitely feels like that documentary that until it hits the vending machine. And then you're going, oh God, oh geez, what's he teaching them? Get the coat hanger. What? Get the coat hanger? And then shortly after that, one of his favorite things to do is teaching the kids how to siphon gas.
Yes.
And he says it so calmly, and the kids they're all whatever he says like it's just we're learning here, aren't we?
Yes.
And it's just it was good. I enjoyed it.
Well, you have to remember, just to jump in, life skills to those that are privileged.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a pretty weird concept, but you can see how the writers could have a long time and a lot of fun playing this out again and again and again. It's almost excruciatingly bad at points, but that is done on purpose. I really loved it. My favorite line.
It's uncomfortable. It's got that uncomfortable moments where you're like, boy, they're hanging on this scene or they're hanging on that line, and it really works.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's where the edgy part comes from it. There were some great lines, and I'm going to throw this in because I'm sure somebody's already got this one, but it said, I was so bad there, they kicked me out. And he's talking about being in jail. And
Yeah.
so it's almost farcical. The lines is like, what? What?
Yes.
It reminded me a lot of
Particularly
there's so much content that there's so many one-liners in there. It reminded me a lot of Airplane and Leslie Nielsen style comedy, less slapstick, but definitely boom, 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 boom
Yeah,
approach
totally
to it.
deliver the line deadpan.
Yeah, yeah, he's
Exactly.
doing great
Yeah.
straight man. It's
Yeah.
really interesting because it allows the other people to play off. One of my favorite lines is like right at the end where he says, sometimes we don't get what we want. And then one of the kids goes, yeah, I feel like we learn that lesson a lot. And it's just this subtle, and then the show ends. It's a fadeaway after the credits, and it's perfect. Like he's the straight man, and he's fucking bizarre and crazy. It's perfect.
If you ignored the words that he was actually saying, you would believe him.
Yeah, yeah. Yes. No, he would look like an interesting video if you just turn the audio on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, something done by the government or some large corporation.
Yeah, can you imagine that?
Yeah,
If it was
absolutely.
subtitled?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let's do a score round. Let's start with Andrew.
I gave it a 3.5.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay, JD.
I gave it a 4.0.
Oh,
Loved it.
really? Interesting. Ken.
I gave it a 3.2.
Wow. All right. Well, knowing your
That's
scale,
good for
okay, you're
me.
about the same as everybody else. Steffi.
3.7.
Nice.
Interesting. And for me, I gave it a 4.0 as well.
Nice.
So I watched that one episode 3 times, and by the third time I watched this, okay, yeah, that's a 4. So it's one of those shows like all the people that are watching this, if they want to experiment, check it out. If you find I don't like that, check it again because I think you might like it. You might see all the subtle hidden stuff in it. So with that, let's go move on. We're going into a more of a reality show. This is Dress Up with George Bressa. Did I pronounce that right?
Bressa.
Brusha, thank you, Brusha. I should have known that. I've done a 45-minute interview with the guy.
Just call him
we
George B. Style, and you're all good.
Yeah, George B. Style, exactly. We did talk with George. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. Check that out the week before, 2 weeks ago on Crazy TV Talk. That's one great interview. He's a wonderful guy. So let's just start it off. Let's start off again with JD. What do you got to say?
Of course, I loved all his stuff. I mean, I prepped a little for the interview that we did with him last week. The real big thing in terms of this reality show, any kind of dress-up reality shows or makeup reality shows, what I really love about this is it's very refreshing, it's very positive, it's very encouraging. There's none of the catty nonsense. He really cares about what he's doing. He has a lot of fun with the people he's doing with it, and it introduced me into Broadway, which literally I know zero about. So I really learned a lot and had a lot of fun. And once we interviewed him last week, I even love and respect him more because he has a really solid gold heart in terms of what he's doing. He's not trying to show off and be, bitchy about anything. He really is there to support and to have people care about how they feel and how they dress, and it comes across.
Yeah, he's definitely doing what he loves. So, Stephanie, what did you think?
Well, I haven't had a chance to see your interview yet, but I can't wait because the one thing that really made the show for me is the host himself. Super likable guy. There's very charismatic edge to him. So no matter what he had to say, even if it wasn't something that I would particularly be interested in, I wanted to see it and I wanted to watch it, mostly because of the way that he was reading and reacting to what others were saying. I liked the show. I've got the like in there because it's not really my style of show, but I liked him. I really did.
Cool. Let's throw this one over to Andrew.
This is a show that I would never have watched if it wasn't in this list, but I found myself enjoying watching it just like what you guys are saying, just because of him. I thought he was a good character. He's definitely passionate about fashion, and and yeah, it was good. Sexy, sophisticated.
Yeah.
That sounds like something he'd say.
He did say
That's it. He did say that.
Baby. Yeah. All right. So,
I thought that was
Ken.
funny.
So
Well, you see, I had a little bit of a problem because I didn't know who this guy was or whether this woman was a real actress. So, and after having watched what we've already watched, I'm thinking, okay, is this a parody? You know, are they doing people out of the theater group? I mean, it just seemed to me that both of the characters were so stereotypical they could be almost a caricature. But I'm guessing that's the way they really are when you talk to people on Broadway. One of the things that sort of led me to believe that was it was one of their lines when she's at the Met. She turns to him and says, "You've given me a gift," and he said, "You've given me a gift too, and you deserve every moment." And then they turn and smile for the camera. Click. It was like instantly. There was no hesitation. There was just, "Oh, aren't you lovely?" And click. And it so you know I'm looking at it thinking, is this real or not? So and I hadn't met or heard of the guy before, so. A little bit of a disadvantage that way.
I think what you were discovering was that, and George kind of talked a little bit about this in the longer interview, but basically he's an actor himself. He's a heck of a sales guy, and for sure the people that he's interviewing are professional actors at their peak in their career.
Yeah.
So he's going in and saying, "Oh, by the way, we're playing dress up," and they're all going, "All right," and they're not, I mean, they're themselves, but they're characters themselves because they're actors, and that's what actors do. It's like, okay, let's be flamboyant. Let's get excited about this dress. I don't think they're like that in real life when they're looking at their wardrobe and oh. But George brings that on, and that's what's so fascinating about George. He really said, "Come on, let's have fun."
Yeah,
and
I mean, I've seen so many of these people from the work that I do that and you look at them and then they walk away from the camera and they're like, "Hey, I know, let's go for a beer."
That's what was so amazing about him in the interview, because we talked to him before we recorded and after he recorded, and he's that guy. Like he's
still
that guy. That's George Brescia.
Not put it on.
He's from New York. He's a stylist. He's around all these people. He's very high-end stylist. And this is part of a platform called Stage 17. And it is part of a digital platform to introduce Broadway digitally to the new generation, the next generation. And he's really forward thinking in terms of technology and fashion. And melding the two together. So it really surprised me too, because usually when you see that, it is kind of a put on, a bit of a caricature or an amp up, but that was him. And when he talked about the other things he was doing, like he just came off of Fashion Week and he did the interview with us, and then he was doing Oscar stuff. Like, the guy is nonstop. It's his absolute passion, and I think it's who he's been for most of his life. He just found what he's good at and what he loves, and that's it. And I think when you get around him, like, if you listen to us talking to him, I'm sure we went along for the ride as well. That's the type of energy he brings. He's that big a guy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's just he's a natural. And, talk about his whole life. One of the questions I did is like, yeah, you must have loved doing dress up when you were 12. And he said, yes, actually, blah, blah, blah. And he describes himself when he was younger, talking about people that he meets now from his childhood. And they walk up to him and say, "George, it's so great to meet you. Remember when you dressed me up to do this and that?" And he cannot remember because his whole life he's been dressing up people. But for these people, it was such an experience. 30 years later, 40 years later, they're saying, "Oh my God, you were the best thing that happened when I was 12 years old." So a fascinating character, an amazing series, and he's got lots of stuff going on. So definitely a guy worth checking out. So let's move forward and get into a rating. Let's start off with Andrew. What did you give it? And Andrew, are you frozen still?
No, I'm
he's blocking out. Okay, well, let's start with Stephanie.
Sure. I give it a 3-2, not because I didn't love him, but because it wasn't the style of show I'd necessarily watch.
All right, cool. No problem. Ken, what do you got?
I gave it a 3 for exactly those reasons as well. It's I'm not a entertainment sort of TV show watcher. I just don't bother with that sort of
Not your
stuff.
thing. All right, cool.
Yep.
JD, what do you got?
I gave it a 3.9 because I think he's amazing. I think the show is well done. It's well edited, and you got to think that they're shooting for hours and hours and hours to get it down to the sharp stuff that they've done. You know what? I'll say 4. I'll go 4. Like the editing itself, I have to be amazed that the post work they do on that is probably a lot because dressing somebody takes hours and hours. So I don't think that's a simple task of the way they shoot that. And then to do the before event and after event and all that kind of stuff. I give it a 4.0.
Cool. All right, Andrew, what do we got?
I give it
It's like science fiction. Andrew? Sorry, Andrew. Okay, let's see if his bandwidth's back.
There he is.
Okay,
Yeah,
try it again,
can you hear
Andrew.
me?
Oh,
I
yeah,
gave
now
it I gave it a 3.0. Just because it's not, I might have given it more if I was into that genre. I'm just not. I did think he was pretty funny, especially with the tight dress when she said I wouldn't be able to walk around very very much in this dress, but I could sing in it. And he goes, "Oh, I'll just pick you up and walk you and put you right down in the place where you can sing." Lines like
Put him
that
right on the
were great.
stage.
I'll just plant you right where you need to be, so you don't have to move.
Yeah, there was a lot of interaction happening there. And for sure, if you check out some of his other footage, he's red carpet dude for sure. He's totally comfortable in that environment. For me, I gave it a 4 because I thought it was a great flamboyant character. I think as far as guerrilla style cinematography, they did a really good job. But as it's a very simple format show, it's just one guy doing his job, and the ability for him to carry the whole show through and make it entertaining, from like sitting down talking about it to let's try these dresses on. He's got lines like let's have this conversation, and he's talking about a dress, and he's like giving people really good one-liners and saying, and he's not saying that. He's like, oh, let's have this conversation. He's okay, let's have that conversation.
Yeah,
and they jump into it.
Improv. It's very yes and. He's really plugged into them.
Yeah, for
I'd
sure.
like to add just one little thing about it as well. It's really, really interesting, especially with web series, when they understand who their audience is and they're not afraid to only talk to that group. Many of us didn't rate it very highly because we're not the audience, but love the fact that they play on one of the strengths of web series.
And I think, thank you, Stephanie, for bringing that in, and for sure, that's the thing about web series and the new media that's going to be evolving and basically taking over our lives is it's micro targeted groups, and that's the thing, is there's going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of shows, not just a bunch of of regular TV shows, and you'll have your favorites because they support the style of life that you're into, they support what you're into, and you'll learn stuff and it'll educate you.
It's interesting in terms of length too, because it's not our genre. If we're going to watch a 5 or 7 minute, we're fine with it. I found myself watching all of his episodes, but if it was on television and it was 22 minutes or an hour, I probably wouldn't watch it. But because it's in a web series format, because it's a little piece at a time, it's super entertaining and informative and fun. Thanks,
For
Steph.
TV,
it's about the format.
For TV, there's just too much filler because it has to be 30 minutes long.
Yeah, for sure.
And you feel that filler.
Every time they come back from a commercial, they replay the whole previous show.
So let's move on to number 5, which is Fatty Little Head Space Ranger. Which is an animated piece. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty freaking bizarre. So I would very curious to see what people have to say. Andrew, let's start off with you.
I thought it was funny. I liked it. I liked the character. He's kind of a cool, weird-looking guy, hunting down space clowns. My favorite scene was when he noticed after having the mescaline earlier in the day. He noticed that his partner looks like a clown.
Looks like a clown.
He accused him of being a clown. It was hilarious.
Yep.
Which he probably is. Yeah. So no, I think it was good. I would definitely watch.
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah,
cutting out?
well, it's definitely a weird series for sure. I mean, like weird in the sense like I watch a lot of weird stuff, and this is weird.
Yeah.
So, JD,
Yes.
what did you have to say about it?
So, Fatty Little Head Space Ranger, one of the best intro songs of all of them. If we were going to just rate on that, they win hands down. And they play it at the beginning of the short web series and at the end, and it's the catchiest tune you ever did sing. It mentions doing drugs and getting drunk in the song, so you kind of know what you're in for if you're paying attention. And his sidekick is Doc Fausto. Doc is in quotes, of course, because he's not a real doctor. And if it has the bunny of time and foreverness in it, and he asks you to rub his magic carrot, maybe you don't. I'm just saying maybe you don't. It is fantastic, funny. It reminds me of like Rick and Morty. It is edgy. The animation is phenomenal. The guy is literally, his head is a round ball with no expression on it until he says something. So it is ridiculous, fun, and dark, and weird, and mescaline. That's it.
Ken, what do you got to say?
Well, for me, I'm
Yeah.
not a fan. I watched the whole thing. I think I watched it actually twice, and so I didn't understand it twice. I'm not a big one for sort of animation in general, unless it's full-on 3D sort of stuff. But no, it's not my kind of show.
All right, hey, look at that's the whole thing. It's like
Absolutely.
these 12 shows talking about running the spectrum.
If
It's
I
like a
absolutely
ridiculous
loved
spectrum.
every one of these shows, there would be something wrong with me.
Well, yeah. Oh, there's definitely something wrong with me.
Well, there's
Yes,
something wrong
me
with me,
too.
but in this case,
That's even before I started watching these shows.
yes.
So let's throw it over to Steffi. What did you have to say about this?
I think I was zapping my brainwaves right towards Ken. Yeah, I appreciate the show, and I appreciate there are certain audiences out there that will love it.
I like how appreciate goes up 3 octaves.
Yes. Yate.
It's really, really not for me. Very, very vulgar cartoon, adult Cartoon Network.
Oh yeah.
Up there with the one that everyone loves, South Park. Kind of got that feel for it. So it might do really, really well with some audiences, but I'm not the audience. And the carrot scene, I gotta say, they were going in the direction of the rabbit and the carrot, and it's like, are they gonna go there? Oh, yep.
Yep.
They did.
And it's not only did they go that direction, they went on it.
They took that direction on a ride.
They took a break and said, let's do it a little bit more.
They added a rocket to that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very interesting. For sure, I think this could go viral big time
Yes.
with the college crowd, people that do drugs, people that do heavy drugs. Definitely would help. I mean, there's a lot
So
of
you're
references.
talking mental institutions.
If they could find the
hospitals.
website.
Yeah,
So,
well, you know, the college crowd, like the college crowd I'm talking about.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of references, you know, the rabbit in the desert and mescaline of what was
can
happening
enjoy the mescaline in the
in
coffee.
Ashbury Heights in San Francisco in the
It was
60s.
very like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I thought it was great that way.
Definitely has that. I mean, it was very weird and nonsensical, but if you were off your head on shrooms or doing mescaline or just really, really drunk, you would be in hysterics and might have a heart attack from laughing too much. So be that as it may, I watched it. I had a couple of chuckles in it, but I struggled through parts of it. So it's definitely a niche cartoon for sure, Stephanie. It had South Park ramifications in humor, but I've been watching South Park reverse order just as an experiment, and I'm down to season 3 and 4, and this is at the level of season 3 and 4 of South Park, not of the level of South Park season
No,
16 and
no,
17.
yeah. It's definitely a different art, and like compared to Rick and Morty too, Rick and Morty flies above this. This is that under the radar. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
for
totally
sure.
in tune with that for sure.
So, but I would say I highly recommend checking it out. And with that, let's go to some scores. So we're gonna save the best for the last. So let's just start with Ken,
me.
and let's start with Ken
Yes.
to see what he scored. I'm very curious.
Start with Ken.
4.3. Well, just in case Stephanie feels generous, we are giving it a 1.5.
Whoa!
Ooh, ouch.
Hey, maybe it's the context. Maybe because there's a reality show with like George Brescher before, and then we go into single and dating in Vancouver afterward. Maybe it was just because it was squeezed in. It was like this total drop out of reality.
It was there was a lot of that too. There was a lot of that too.
Okay.
All right, Steffi, what do you got?
I'm a 1.8.
A 1.8. All right. So it looks like we've
So she
guessed
was
it right.
generous. All right.
All right.
Hey,
Andrew,
but
Andrew, what do you got? Oh, sorry. Yes, Steffi, go for
I
it.
was going to throw it out there. We will have to test out that virality to it to see if at the Vancouver Web Fest on the 6th to the 8th, if people are going to be singing that song after they heard it.
Yes.
Yeah, well, they could be spiking the drinks, you know. Don't drink the punch unless you're going to
You know
watch
what?
the
I
fatty
might make it my ringtone, actually.
That'd be a good ringtone.
Oh,
it'd
my
be a good
God. Andrew, what did you give it as a score?
3.0.
All right,
It's-
excellent. Very good.
I might not, watch it, again, but I might. It's something that, if I'm in the mood for something really stupid, I might do it.
All right. I would say that's a little bit of a backhanded compliment if I ever heard one.
If I'm in
So
the mood for something,
Focus
I'll have a look.
I'm very curious. So I'm going to give this to Jadine to see what his score is. See if we can.
4.1, folks, and you all suck.
Oh.
'Cause this is awesome.
All right.
You had me at mescaline in your coffee. That's
Yeah.
where you had me. That's where I needed to know where I need to go. You also had me at, this isn't going up on the internet, is it? No, I promise. Wink to camera. This is just between you and me. Yes, like this understands exactly what it's doing. It understands that it's getting in your face, and it is being a little offensive, and it is fucking with what is normal. And I think they have a very high quality. The animation's high quality, the inventiveness, and the writing. It's really good.
There were some great one-liners. My one-liner was, I don't know if it's the mescaline, but you're kind of freaking me out right now. And that kind of wraps up the show with the bizarreness of it. Like, does somebody say, I don't know if it's this incredibly powerful
Hallucinogenic.
that makes me a psychopath, but you're kind of freaking me out. And if you've ever done some seriously strange drugs, this show is for you. I gave it a 4.
Nice.
So
We're both crazy, Bob. I love
exactly. And what we're going to do, because we're running very, very long, is we're going to do Single and Dating in Vancouver. We're going to chat about that. We're going to end this hangout, and we're going to start up another one and do a second one. So our
it.
listening
6 and
audience.
6. I love it. It's magical.
Yeah, it doesn't have to suffer through too much of us. So let's start with this number 6, which is Single and Dating in Vancouver. And I'm going to leave it for, let's start with Andrew on this one, because you're married and got a couple of kids, 3 kids now. Was this your target demographic? I'm curious.
Single and dating in Vancouver.
Or sad
just
in
didn't-
Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't grab me. I wasn't a big fan of this one. I thought it was, it was well done. I'm not going to criticize the production of it. It just didn't it seemed a little bit slow at parts. It just didn't get me. I didn't enjoy it.
Cool. Well, okay.
But I could see how it's it would be good for other people maybe. I don't know. I didn't see any other episodes. Maybe some of the other episodes are better. I don't know.
Okay. JD, what did you have to say?
I kind of feel the same way. It's interesting because this one is the culmination of the first season of the series. So this is episode 6 that we watched. So this facade that's been going on between these two buddies who are actor film guys, and they've made a decision to pretend to be gay in order to hook up with these two particular women. This is the kind of the reveal of the story arc. So it's amazing because some of the scenes are so overly acted and over the top and bombastic and big. So I appreciate that. In terms of the context of the story, I kind of had no idea what was going on until I went to the website and checked out the other stuff. I mean, the first episode of this series is 30 minutes long in order to establish the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting in terms of to set up the entire premise of what is going on, the hijinks that happen later. So if we had that character development in there, then I think we would probably have plugged in a little bit more. But it is Vancouver, which is great, and that's always good to see local stuff there. And some of the actors are very fun and interesting caricatures, but I didn't enjoy it that much. It really didn't jive with me.
All right, cool. Ken?
Well, I just, and like Jadine's saying, had there been that sort of knowledge in the beginning, being able to set up the character, I probably would have enjoyed this a lot more. For me, it was just sort of a collection of unrelated moments that even by themselves really sort of didn't make much sense. Although I got the two guys trying to score with women, two guys pretending to be gay, trying to score with women. I've never done it, but I know guys that it works for, and because the women trust gay guys, they just do, and will walk around in their underwear and so forth. But I did like the when the two guys are in the washroom and they're hashing this out. That I sort of enjoyed, and the one line out of that, you need to make Brokeback look like a kindergarten tale. That was funny. That was funny.
Yeah.
And the back and forth that I thought was pretty good.
Cool. Stephanie, what do you got to say?
Well, on this one here, I find it interesting because it is about single and dating in Vancouver. And if anyone's ever read any blog about single and dating, it almost feels like they're picking off every single stereotypical thing that people complain about when it comes to the Vancouver dating scene. So for that on its own, I gave it a slightly higher rating than I usually would have. And I have to say that maybe if they were to just tighten up the editing in this, because it felt like it moved way slower for some of the comedy and action points that it was trying to go for. I found it very difficult to get through the entire episode that was given to us, mostly because there's so much going on for a webisode, and it's so hard in knowing that your audience is coming in at different times.
Yeah.
Okay.
For a webisode, it was many different things.
So let me wade in here. I struggled watching this for the main reason, just like Stephanie said, it was incredibly sloppy editing. It basically, the editor didn't turn back to the director and say, fuck you, you don't know what you're talking about, this has got to go. There was minutes and minutes of footage that do not belong in that show. So my call out to the people that create the show, please take the 30 minutes and edit it down to 10 and you'll have something worth watching. That you've spent a bunch of time of production and creating it, I think that it was the people that were making the decisions on the cuts were too involved. That's the thing with making a show is you have your actors and you film them, and then you have an editing with the director, and then you have an editor that puts it together. You don't have the actors in the same room saying, no, this is a great scene. Let's keep the whole thing in, because it's okay if you're doing something for high school and you're going to watch it and you're in the same class, you all made it together. But quite frankly, That's the level the editing's at. I'm sorry, but I
No, you're right.
fast forwarded. I've got a 7-second fast forward. I was getting a cramp in my hand by the end of the show. I was go. It's like and then watch for 3 or 4 seconds. So really, if they edited it a bit, maybe they'll do that in the coming season.
And Bob, just to follow that as well, that sort of attitude where we got to stick this in no matter what. At times the audio sucked. And they did that because something was said or the visual was right or for some other reason. But if the audio sucks, it all
gone.
dies.
Yeah.
For me, it's dead. So people have to start paying attention to all of it.
Yeah.
And just because America's Funniest Home Videos will shoot crap video and get away with crap audio, that doesn't mean that television programs should do that.
Yeah, but you know what? In America's Funniest Video, it's edited better.
Absolutely.
It takes out the stuff. It's going to intro. It's going to happen. Boom, here you go. And let's get back. And more stuff, and let's cut back. I mean, it's got some pacing. This is 30 minutes that could be edited. So I'm going to beat him up too much. It was it had good production value. It had fun acting, maybe a little overacted, but that was part of the style. So
and part of the setup again. This is the crescendo of the entire kind of season. So it's the payoff where they get exposed at a restaurant, and it's like it should have been a bigger scene, and it should have meant something to us, but emotionally it didn't. So
but be that as it may, I mean, I'm saying that there's nothing wrong with the acting. There's nothing wrong with the locations. It didn't really save anything.
And even the writing, like if it was just tighter cut, I think it would work.
They could have got an extra 5 points off of me. So let's not belabor this because we got a ton of other stuff to talk about in the next show. So Steffi, what did you give it for a score?
3-4.
Really? Wow. Okay. Ken?
2-7.
Ooh, ouch. Jadine?
3.
3. Okay. And Andrew?
2.5.
2.5, and I came in at a 3. So with that, we're going to wrap the show. I don't want it to sound like we're trying to brutalize the show and stuff like that, but compared to all the other 6, out of the other 6 shows, or 5 shows, I think we did very, very good scoring and some very interesting stuff. I'd highly recommend watching all of them. These shows are from the Saturday and the Sunday. So with that, I'm going to give it over to Jadine to fill it up and wrap up the show.
Thanks, everybody, for this first part. We're going to do 6 more episodes coming up. You have to check out the Vancouver Web Fest 2015. Go to vancouverwebfest.com. You can get tickets there. You can get schedule information. They have one-day passes. They have events to the gala passes. You can still get a 3-day pass with all of this stuff. It's unreal the amount of content, the amount of parties, and the amount of panels that exist for $120. A nice March 6th to March 8th weekend here in Vancouver. You have to check it out. Thanks to everybody here for panel for the first part here, and go make a great day, folks.